Okay, finally. Alright, so it's up and running. I am going to start off this video by saying I am so sorry about that whole ghosting situation that I had to go through for the past 2 weeks. I know the first week I was sick, but over the last week it's just been me working and working and working and working, and it just has not been fun. And there was a lot of controversial stuff surfing the internet and whatnot, so I didn't feel like it was the right time to particularly make a video about curses and hexes and such. But simultaneously, within those exact same 2 weeks, people kept saying in covens and newbies were coming in and they were saying, I think I'm cursed, I think I'm hexed, how do I know, what do I do? And of course I was just like, I should make a video on that. And so that's what I'm doing. Later than I would like, but I'm going to do it because I promised that. Alright, so let's go over the differentiator between curses and hexes. They're kind of similar, but really different results can come from them. So cursing is, I guess, the smaller, baby, innocent version of a hex, because cursing can come from the simple things like you saying F off, screw you, all those things. Using curse words, that's cursing people, and, saying things with ill intent. And as you heard me mention in my other videos, intent is everything when it comes to magic. So when you're spewing words with venom and negative intention and wanting to inflict bad karma, negative energy on people, you're cursing them. And, well, we're not going to get into that and yet, but we'll get there. So with hexes, they are the grand scale. They are the things that really make people freak out. That would be the things like making a person miscarry, making a person lose their relationship, a house burning down, cars crashing. Hi, Robert. All of those things, all the really scary stuff that you'd see in a Hollywood movie, all of the extra stuff. Again, grand scale for hexes. And that's really the biggest difference between curses and hexes. I guess another difference between them would be hexes are a little bit more ritualistic, like you'll use candles and twine, nails, and needles, and all of that stuff. And for cursing, it can just be short and to the point. That being said, most people don't realize they're cursing people when they are literally cursing them out or doing things of that nature. They don't realize that that is spell work per se. They don't see it that way. They just know they're really mad and they're saying stuff, out of anger. And you should never be doing spell work out of anger, which is really hard for people. You should not be doing magic impulsively or while you're highly emotional and vulnerable. But that's usually how cursing starts. That being said, sometimes people end up cursing and hexing themselves, either with their negative thoughts, the way they talk to themselves. Like, negativity harvests within oneself when you do that, and you don't realize you're doing it, but that is, I would say, somewhere between 50 to 70% of curses are caused by oneself because of the way that you see yourself, and letting other people, the way other people talk to you, and letting all of that harvest and manifest within. So you're either letting too many people's opinions in and taking it seriously. Better now? Yeah. Either taking it too seriously or just being overly harsh on yourself when it comes to that, and then you end up cursing yourself. So there are different types of curses and hexes. I'm going to go with, like I said, there's the small curses, there's the grand hexes, there's generational curses. What does a generational curse look like? It it looks like almost everyone in your family ends up getting divorced. Everyone in your family ends up being single. You know, there's this very negative pattern that happens without fail through the generations. That's what a generational curse looks like. There are ways to fix that. I do not recommend beginners doing it by themselves. Actually, if you're a beginner, just pay somebody to remove the generational curse and or do the spell work for it, because curses and hexes, like removing that stuff can be quite tricky. It is some very intermediate, advanced people stuff. If you're new and have not surpassed white magic, do not jump into that. So how do you know if you are cursed or hexed? Well, one of the first things you can do, and this is usually the way most people find out to begin with, but is not always reliable depending on the person you go to, is getting a reading. Personally, for me, this is obviously not the whole deck of cards, but personally, when I was in college, I would have a deck of tarot cards or oracle cards on me at all times, and I would shuffle my deck and I would ask it which cards would represent curses. And I think it was a tarot deck, so it was like the standard 52 cards, but there was only like 5 cards in my deck personally that would represent a person being cursed. And that's one way to find out. You can just get a reading. You can just get a reading to find out if you're cursed. You can ask a pendulum, you know, real simple, yes or no. I think mine is all the way over there, so I can't show it to you at the moment. There is something I just learned over the last week. There is this thing where you take an egg, and I don't know if I recommend this because I still think it's kind of funny, but a lot of people do this. I just did it to test it, but recently, over the last 2 weeks, like I said, there's this thing where you can get an egg out of the fridge and you rub it all over your body. You just rub the egg everywhere, right? And then you crack it open and let the yolk fall into a bowl of water, and depending on what it looks like, you'll know if you're cursed or hexed and like what it's from and things like that. I think that's a pretty peculiar way to do it. I think there's easier ways to do it, like I said, with the tarot cards or the pendulum. Obviously going to a high priestess or priest or an elder in the magic world would be a good way. You know, having someone like read your auras and chakras and all of those things would fall into. Even Reiki can tell you if you're cursed, because that has to do with, you know, magical blockages within the self. There are a ton of ways, and I'm pretty sure there are more ways than what I'm mentioning right now that can tell you if you're cursed or not. But the other problem with curses and hexes is that some people think they've been cursed or hexed at every little thing, or just because a person or a witch has told them that they're cursed or hexed. And I mean, like someone that you go to school with, they're just like, I'm going to put a spell on you, and then you guys get paranoid about it. And that's one of the ways that y'all end up cursing and hexing yourselves, is because you just impulsively believe it because they said they were going to do something. And you know, in this day and age, a lot of people are saying things and not actually doing anything. So maybe don't let that bother you so much in the future. Even between witches, really, a lot of witches will say, I'm gonna curse you, I'm gonna hex you, I'm gonna do this or that to you, and even witches don't do that to other witches, so keep that in mind if someone's telling you that. Now, there have been incidences of this, where people say they're going to hex or curse you, and then they start showing you or sending you images of some spell work that they've done, then I think that's a good time to be worried. But if they're not doing that, 8 times, maybe even 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't worry about it. It's just not worth it. The people in the magical world, and the amount of impulsive magic is just amazing. Um, Let me give a warning actually right here as I'm thinking about it, because I do not want to forget to say this. When you are doing spell work, especially something like hexes and curses, something that's very serious, very heavy and chaotic magic that you're working with, and all of the elements and things like that, I know some of you are probably wondering, like, okay, well, if you don't do it impulsively when you have all of that energy running through you naturally, then, like, when do you do it? A seasoned practice, advanced witch who does hexes and curse work, we still have to cleanse ourselves and do all of the necessary prep work, like getting the supplies out if we're going to do like a ritual with like oils and stuff on candles and stuff. We still have to get all that stuff out. We still have to cleanse and ground and conjure and summon and ask guides, guardians, ancestors, demons if you're hexing people. You know, still have to do all of those prep work, but we have to kind of conjure up that chaotic energy, and we have to dig deep within ourselves and like bring all of that dark energy up and out of us specifically for the spell. It's not just get angry, throw some stuff together in a jar, and then burn a candle. No, we actually have to do it in a very controlled environment, and very level-headed and very intentful. So I think based on what I just said, y'all can see where y'all are either doing stuff wrong yourselves or how things end up going wrong very easily. And then also want to talk about how half of y'all don't need to be hexing and cursing nobody anyway, because y'all not gonna like me for this. Most of y'all ain't even angry. If you've ever tried to get spell work done from me for the purpose of hexing or cursing or getting back at someone because of what they did to you, I always inform my clients that, you know, there is a possibility of backfire, because there's always room for human error, and that's kind of just the way the world works. And sometimes your clients just don't have good intentions, and it can inflict back on them. So I'd like to say, with regular spells, even protection spells go wrong, you know, it's just a part of the process. But with the regular spells, if it goes wrong and it backfires, it either doesn't manifest or it has the opposite effect of, you know, what you intended. So if you're doing a protection spell and it backfires, you ended up being overly protected, and now you can't do things like astral travel, or you end up being underprotected and you just keep bringing in bad luck and bad energy, and, you know, it starts overflowing onto you, and it just doesn't go well. But when it's to hexes, when hexes backfire, they obviously don't turn into blessings when they backfire, right? So with hexes and curses, when they backfire, they get even bigger and grander and scarier, right? So when, I guess, a new or untrained person comes in and they get angry at their boyfriend and they're like, okay, I'm gonna hex them, and I found this spell on the internet, I'm gonna do it, and like their intent might be to like, might be something small, like I just want him to feel how I felt for whatever reason, you know, I just want him to be angry or as upset as I am. And then you think that you're gonna do like this little baby thing, and then next thing you know, he's gotten a car accident and he's in the hospital in the ER, or his house is burned down, or he's lost his job, he's lost another girl that he might have had feelings for. You know, like, it starts out small, like I just wanted him to feel a little bit of pain, but then it backfires because you didn't do the spell level-headedly or in a controlled environment, and now it's blown up to something this big, and you're just like, oh crap, did I do that? I'm really scared, I don't know what I did. And then there's the thing of usually a seasoned witch can keep it down to like, okay, we're gonna use this set amount of karma for the spell. So then like 1, 2, maybe 3 bad things happen. But when an unpracticed person does it, it can end up going on indefinitely just because they don't know how to keep it to a small time frame and, you know, control how long this spell runs. So this spell might, unintentionally by the person, it might continue running until they either learn how to stop it, hire someone to stop it, or, you know, if you're just out of resources and you're too scared of magic at that point, the hex that you put on the person might just run until they figured out that they've been hexed and they do something about it, which is a very scary thing, and y'all really shouldn't just leave people hanging like that. But yeah, like I said, some of y'all don't be angry, because when you get that warning from whoever you end up purchasing your spell work from, y'all be like, well, you know, I don't want all that to happen, you know, I don't want him to burn down the house or anything. Then you're not angry, okay? Like, if you're like, because people who are truly angry would go to that extent. Not that you should, but truly angry people would go to that extent. They're just like, I don't care about the consequences. I want that person to suffer. And that's what a hex is. You are speaking over a person's life in a negative manner. And so when you guys come to the people who are providing these types of services and you're just like, well, I don't want to go that far with you, you know, maybe that's too much. That means you're not as angry as you think you are. And usually when the person that you're trying to buy this service from tells you that, y'all be like, you know what, I'm good. Like, you're done. You're just done. You're just like, you know what, I'm good now. You guys go from being like super upset to, now I'm gonna relax. I'm good. You know what? I'm just gonna go on with my day and drink my coffee like it don't even matter now. So that's always a fun reaction on my part to see, because I don't know. It's crazy out here in the world of hexes and curses. But another one that I want to mention for the cause of curses and hexes is that sometimes y'all just don't be cleansing yourselves. Like, y'all don't meditate, y'all don't ground yourselves, you don't align your chakras correctly and stuff, and so your aura just gets like really dingy and dark, and it just ends up dark things attract dark things. All right, dark vibes attract dark vibes. Light vibes attract even lighter vibes. Okay, good attracts good, and bad attracts bad. And if you have a bad aura, you're going to attract dark things, plain and simple. Now, I guess this would be a good time to start getting into the more controversial things with, or the personal perspectives that I know people have when it comes to hexes and the like. So, one thing that I know I want to point out to people is that, and you might want to ask the person that's providing the services, some people believe, some workers who provide the service believe that the client that is asking for this work is the one that will take on the negative karma for the spell work, because they're the one with the intent and they're the one that wants it done, and I'm just the middleman as the worker, right? So this has nothing to do with me. I'm just giving you the resources that you were looking for, right? And that's one way of looking at it, that it is the client's karma to receive, and you know, they get nothing. So some people, they don't mind doing a lot of hex work, and that's the reason. Now, other people, other healers and workers, they believe that they do get the karma from doing hex work and curses, and that is because they're the one providing the service and doing or dealing the most damage and power in it. And that's why people will only do a certain amount of hexes, opposed to offering it a lot it'll have to be a special circumstance to get them to provide that type of service for you, and things would have to be pretty bad for them to agree to do something like that. So they might only offer that type of service once or twice a month, because as I said before, the worker has to dig up all of that hatred and all of that negative energy, and no one likes to feel that way, which is one of the reasons why people be charging $200, $300 for hex work like that, because it's not pretty, and usually you have to get all angry for it, and no one likes to be angry all day, okay? That's just the truth of the matter. And then the final group of people in the magic community are the people who believe that when you're doing hexes, that is the exception to the threefold law, which means hexes are basically fair game to them, and you know, there is no karma that's gonna roll back around, because this is basically dealing out their negative karma anyway. We're just fast forwarding it a bit. Everyone has bad karma built up, and everyone has good karma built up, and in these people's eyes, this is just me fast forwarding it on you and making it all maybe happen all at once or a little bit faster. So if you are getting spell work from someone, you might want to ask them which one of these people that they are, you know, to see where they come from, because some people you're gonna be like, well, is there anything negative that can happen from it? And they're gonna say no, and you're gonna be nervous about it, and maybe you shouldn't be having that person specifically do your spell work, because you don't really agree with the perspective of how they do their spell work. And that should go for anything, not just hexes and curses. If people are working with saints and you're not Catholic, or you don't like saints or working with them, maybe don't hire a spiritual worker or a root worker that works with those things. You know, just common sense. You should intuitively pick who you're working with and make sure that you get along with them. And it is perfectly okay to not purchase a service the first time around. They should not be pressuring you into purchasing anything, especially a hex or a curse, the first time around. It's definitely okay if you like inquire about it and have like 1 or 2 conversations before then to make sure that you really actually want to go through with this and you really want to do it. And then buy a purchase or not, like I said, because a lot of you, after you realize the potential consequences on your end, you're just like, you know what, it's not really worth it. Granted, a lot of people who do hex and curse work do have a high success rate. Some of y'all are just not willing to accept that 10, 15, 20, 31% chance. You know, you're like, you know what, 1% is too high for me. No, it's just not gonna happen. So y'all just gotta be careful when you're talking to people and the way that you view yourself and all of those things, because hexes and curses are a very sticky, it's a very sticky magic. It's very circumstance based, and like I said, it's a very advanced type magic, and it's not something that you should jump into impulsively. Now, I do offer these services of hexing and cursing people because some people deserve to be hexed and cursed, and there is such thing as cursing a narcissist, because if you curse or hex a narcissist, it usually betters them as a person, because now they know how it feels to be treated as such. So there are some people that need to be hexed. It is a necessary evil sometimes to hex a person, because some people need to understand how they treat others and feel the pain that they have caused others. Like, that's just what it is. It is a necessary evil. So is it wrong to hex someone? Not necessarily, because some people deserve it. They really do. If they have caused you harm, usually some type of physical harm or spiritual harm, that is when spiritual workers are going to give your request for the hex work a green light. Now, if they just simply hurt your feelings, usually, I'm telling you now, if you try to get someone to hex a person for you because they hurt your feelings, that is not the same thing. They're gonna say no, and they're probably gonna, I want to say they're probably gonna not like blacklist you, but they'll kind of like keep that in mind when you try to purchase services from them in the future, that type of thing. So make sure that these people have actually done something to you and didn't just actually hurt your feelings, because that is a good way to make a spell backfire on you, on the root worker or spiritual worker that you hire, and like I said, give a unwanted result to the person that you're trying to do ill will on, because you guys aren't willing to go that far. And like I said, it's a sticky situation. Some people use demons for their hex work. You might want to ask what your spiritual worker is working with for your specific circumstance and scenario, because some spiritual workers will just do like a traditional hexing spell, like they use that spell for everyone who requests this hex work, and then you have a lot of people who like get the details of exactly what you're going through so they can like go through the pros and cons and find the best spell that fits you. And majority of the times, if you have a really good spiritual worker, they'll just custom make a spell for you, which is usually what I'm doing up here. So if you guys see my videos on like Facebook or Instagram and you see me burning candles, all of those things are very custom. You will not, like, you're not going to find it in a Google search anywhere. You're not going to find it in a YouTube video, because I customize it. You might see some of the same basics, or based on the same foundation of the spells, like the color correlations or the figure candles and things like that, but it's been customized with my own little twist on it and things like that, which is what makes it a little bit more special and a little bit more well intended for the specific purpose. Y'all just really need to be careful out there, honestly, when it comes to dark energies like this. I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk about a dark topic with a light heart, and I'm trying to make sure I use the right words, because it is also very well known that when you say even like the smallest things, people tend to like exaggerate it and blow it up and then do a lot with it extra, and it ends up like endangering people. I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, people are a mess. Also, well, not also, another thing I would like to put on the table is if you're trying to perform hex work, this is the time when magic stops looking very pretty. This is when you're going to be doing thorns, thistles. People use spit in hex work. They use urine in hex work. They use coffin nails if they want. Like, this is when things are getting down and dirty and you have to like put some elbow grease into it. This is also when supplies for the ritual start getting more expensive. I don't know if y'all have noticed this far into the video, but this is not a how-to hex someone video, with very good reason. And some of y'all don't need hex work, you just need protection work. And another good amount of y'all just need readings. And that's enough to ease your mind and like settle your mood on the matter. But I'd say about out of every 100 cases, I would say like 1% of people actually go through on hex work when they request it. Because a lot of y'all think that you can just hex any and everybody, and it is not true, and you should not be doing that. And you will build, if you believe that, because as I went over earlier, there are like 3 different perspectives on that. You will build negative karma for yourself if you believe in such a thing. I will personally say that I have hexed a few people and it has turned out just fine. Usually it happens within a month and a half. But that's because I try to do very specific things for people that I specifically do not like, and just can't seem to get along with. Like, for example, a really annoying coworker. God. We're not gonna get into that. But yes, I have hexed my coworkers before for one good reason or another. Usually what I've noticed in the past is that hex work takes a little bit longer than your average white magic spell work. For me, usually when I do like white magic spell work with the protection spells or the money spells, things like that, it usually takes like 24 hours to like a week and a half. Hex work usually takes around like what I said before. Now, spell work in itself usually should take place by the end of 3 months. It should take like 3 months for a spell to manifest. Now, what happens if a spell does not manifest in the 3 months? The person A probably did not deserve the spell that you were trying to cast on them, whether it be a spell, a hex, a curse, anything. That means it was not meant to manifest. Or, very big or too, because like, not always necessary. Or you need to come at that problem from a different angle. You might need follow-up spell work. You might not be able to get your intended result with just one spell. And that is the reality of it. Sometimes you have to go through 2 or 3 rituals or spells to get where you're trying to get to. It's not always a one and done process, and that's kind of when you have to remember that other people have ancestors and grandparents and spirit guides looking after them, watching them, protecting them. And sometimes even us as spiritual and root workers, we don't even see it at first, or we don't know specifically who they're working with or who's protecting them. We don't know what walls they have up all the time. We have to figure that out along with you guys. So, which brings us back to custom spells. Custom spells. Hi! If you have any questions, definitely ask while you're popped in. But yeah, you kind of have to be careful with that. We have to figure it out. And there are, that I know of currently at the moment, there are about 3 ways that can cover up spell work. And no, I'm not going to reveal them on camera. But there's about 3 pretty good ways that you can cover up your spell work, and it makes it hard for even like witches to find when we're looking for it. Like camouflage it. So that's another thing that prevents people from knowing that they have curse work or hex work on there. But there's also ways that I have discovered to get around that, thank God. And sometimes it's like just as simple as people like telling on themselves. Like, you see someone with a strand of bad luck and people end up saying that, oh yeah, I put a curse or hex on them, that means my spell is working then. And then, you know, you can go from there. So now I kind of want to get into a little bit more of like the embodiment, I suppose, of what a curse or a hex looks like to a spiritual worker. It can be a card, and maybe it'll come in, I'm just going to use this as an example because it's right here. It can come as the Wheel of Destiny, like reverse, which is not, well, I guess it'd just be the Wheel of Fortune in a normal deck, but you know, having certain cards reversed or having something a little bit more blunt, like the devil. You know, you can have those things happen where you get cards like that. Or if you're doing Reiki on a person per se, you see a lot of blockages. If you can see auras and stuff, which is when you can like see the little lining and colors like around the body and like all living things, whatever. The rainbow effect, as most people don't even know it's seeing auras, but usually you can see in that whether a person is cursed. Sometimes it takes on a form of, I think the most interesting one I've seen is the form of like a person being bound, like literally like they're tied up within string and it has like knots everywhere, and then you have to do something closer to like a cord cutting or a karmic cord cutting for that spell. I've had to use a what is it called? It's called an athame. I had to use an actual athame. This was an in-person removal. My friend was cursed, or she got cursed, and I had to use a athame to cut the actual spiritual cords wrapped around her that were making her life a living hell. Like I said, be careful. Make sure you have reliable resources. See where your spiritual workers, what are they doing it based on? Why are they doing it? And make sure they're balanced and they have good reviews. I think good reviews would be super important at this time. If no other time, definitely at this time if you're going to start going like lethal on people, and that's what hex work is. It's going lethal on people. So I hope I've answered quite a few questions, even though I know this video was all over the place, but I think I got most of what I wanted to say in there. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. DM me, and if there's enough questions, I'll obviously make a part 2 to this video. But have a nice day, be safe, and don't go around just hexing and cursing people for no good reason. Stay safe and keep high vibes. Bye guys.